Hey, everybody. We are getting ready. I am getting ready to start today's CFJ Coaching Success School show. It is May. We are now officially in May. Welcome to May. I hope you're going to join in. I know we have new people that had written to me and said that they want to be here. So I'm here. I'm waiting. It is almost 1:15. I'm coming on even a little bit early. Um, and we're going to get started in just a couple minutes, but I wanted to give everyone a chance to find me. Um, And here we go. My agreement today is that I am going to talk about how we turn people into aliens. And I thought that would be a great topic to kick us off. And then I can take your questions and all sorts of good stuff. So, I am here. It is 1:14 and 30 seconds. We will officially start at 1:15, and I will be looking at your comments. Um, Let me know if you have any issues um, finding me. Um, I know that there's a couple people that had trouble finding me last week, but then we got it resolved. So it is now 1:15. Here we go. 45 minutes about growing a coaching business um, and getting going. So we're doing this. Um, and I want to talk to you today about what it means when we treat people like aliens, when we are connecting and when we are serving people. So, we're going to talk about what happens, like why we get all knotted up when we start to connect with people over email or private message them or direct message them. This is one of the things that shows up for the coaches in the CFJ Coaching Success School. We will often get questions like, you know, I got this email from this person and they said that they wanted me to reach out to them in a week. How should I respond? Okay, so that's a question that sometimes comes up. How should I respond? And what I want to say about that is that right there, right, that one question where we start to look at that, how should I respond, is when we forget that we are talking to other humans who are the same as us, who have feelings and thoughts and ideas, and they're no different than us, right? So we want to start to slow ourselves down and think about how this is what we're doing. We sort of turn people into like these foreign aliens where they are not beating hearts just like ours. Hey, Claire Marie, how are you? Um, so I'm here to take your questions, but I'm going to keep talking about how we turn people into aliens because it's one of my favorite topics. Bronwyn, glad you're here. Um, and this has happened to me. So it's like I will be in an email with a prospective client, certainly when I was early in my practice, and they would write to me and they would say, yeah, I want to connect with you, but I need to do it in 2 weeks. So can we connect in 2 weeks? And I would write to my coach, like, what do I do? How do I respond? And he would sort of write back, Steve Chandler, of course, would be like, how would you respond to any human? Like, tell me where that question is coming from, that you would be like, how do I respond? How? And I would slow myself down, and he would say to Michelle and I, on the other end of that email, on the other end of that phone is like a living, breathing human being who is, concerned about their children's schooling right now, or is concerned about pleasing their boss, or who is has an aging parent that they're trying to take care of. These are actual human beings. So start to ask yourself, how would I want to be responded to? It's one of the greatest questions you can ask yourself when you get all knotted up. Like, oh my gosh, like this person just asked me a question. How should I respond? One of the greatest things you could do, one of the questions we're always asking coaches in the school, how would you want to be responded to? What would feel good to you? You can always ask yourself that, and that will always help you come up with an answer that feels more real, that feels more genuine, that is less performative or less feeling like I'm trying to prove myself here. You know, often coaches can get sort of this like, I need to act like I'm somebody because I'm somebody. And we just start to ask ourselves, well, what would I want someone to say to me in this situation? We had a coach in the school who is doing an event. Hey, Maya, who's doing an event, and one of the participants who said yes to coming to the event said, "Hey, I'm going to be in a little bit of a tricky situation with my kid, and I might have to put them in front of a video while I do this." And the coach wrote to us, myself and Amber Chris, on the Facebook page, like, is that okay? And because, you know, look, as a parent, it's like, here's someone who's like, look, I really want to come to your event. It may require me putting my kid in front of a video. Are you okay with that? My answer is always yes. Hopefully it's a good video. Like it's not, I don't know. I was never, my daughter still talks about how I would not let her watch SpongeBob SquarePants. I think SpongeBob SquarePants is low quality. I was, you know, I loved little Einsteins, right? So, you know, that's my joke. Obviously, I don't, you know, assuming the parent, it's up to the parent, obviously, to decide what that video is. However, it's like if I'm doing an event and a parent says to me they want to come, and I'm like, hey, 2 hours and you get some you time, that's important. That is really important. So we want to do whatever we can to help ourselves remember there's another person on the other end of this communication. There's another person who has thoughts and feelings, who feels uncomfortable and is probably shy. And many, many, many people have no experience with coaching. Some do. Yes, right, Eric. SpongeBob needs some coaching. That's my point of view. My husband, you know, could get behind it. I could never get behind it. I was like, I can't have this on. I think it's garbage. So I forgive myself for judging SpongeBob as garbage, but I thought SpongeBob was garbage. I'm so sorry if I'm offending anybody who's a big fan. I mean, look, SpongeBob is now a musical. What do I know? Clearly, I'm missing some boat. So it's like when someone says they want to connect with you or someone doesn't answer you, let's play out with that one, okay? Because I just did a coaching session with a coach yesterday who was really in a story about what it meant when people didn't respond to her. And she was like making it mean that she was just a failure and that they were not responding because she had offended them or somehow they didn't like her. Sarah, I'm so sorry that you're a huge SpongeBob fan. I hope that doesn't declare you, you will no longer participate in the CFJ Coaching Success School show. See, I could be really alienating people with my SpongeBob comment. So I acknowledge that maybe I'm missing something and that my judgment might be hasty. It might be. So this coach was really knotted up about not having gotten an email response. And I asked her, so when did you send it? And she got quiet. She said, I think 2 days ago. And I was like, 2 days is not very long for most people, right? I mean, I worked in an environment that had a requirement that every email be responded to within 24 hours or less. So that was the requirement. Everyone had that agreement. If you sent me an email, you're a fellow staff member, and I didn't, my job was to respond within 24 hours or less, even if it was just, hey, got this, I need another couple days. Most of humanity does not work that way. Most people do not have I got to get back to this person within 24 hours. So one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves as coaches is to not make it mean anything when somebody does not respond to us for a few days. We don't want to make it mean anything. And then what we're going to do, right? So what do we do when someone doesn't respond? So I'm going to share with you one of the greatest gifts to humanity that one of my he's a coach in the school, and he's just an amazing guy. He's a coach in the school, and this is a great story. Some of you know this. He was actually my boss for a short period of time. And now he's a coach in my school. Isn't that amazing? Love that, right? So here's this guy, and this is when I was working with him, and he was my boss. He was the head of marketing. And he sent me an email, and in the subject line was a single question mark. I thought my heart was going to drop out of my body. Like, for me, my triggered response was, I'm in trouble. Oh my God, why is there a question mark in my email? And I opened it up, and it was just like trying to get me to answer something. And I intercommed him. I was like, hey, what are you doing with this question mark? That was so terrifying. And he laughed, and he was like, oh my gosh, that's just a standard thing from my old business. When you don't get a response, you put a question mark in the subject line and people open it. It's one of the best things you could ever do. If you don't get a response from someone in 3-4 days, strip out the subject line, put a question mark in the subject line with nothing else, and then above the prior email say, Dear Isabel, I'm so sorry I triggered you. Dear Isabel, hey, did you get the below? I didn't hear back from you. We want to be innocent. Innocent, and assume, wow, people have a lot going on, because they do. There's a lot going on in the world. And in particular, most people have a lot going on. And sometimes they might be uncomfortable. They might feel squirrely. They might need a teeny nudge from us to go, hey, did you get this? In the most gentle way. So I share that with you as a way to go, oh, if someone didn't respond to me, I'm making it mean something. To be like, wait a second. What am I making this mean about me? What story am I making up? All right. And that's another sort of alien-like response, right? Like, we don't want to turn into aliens where it's like, I don't know what to do with this human who didn't respond to me. It's bad. Danger, danger, Will Robinson, danger, right? We want to be like, wait a second. Let's slow down. So, Sandy Sullivan, can you share how to deal with a client that at one point says a courageous yes to a group and then a week later is a no? I love that question. I've had that happen. So more than once, by the way, probably maybe even this many, given how long I've been coaching for. Who knows? It's been a decent amount. When someone gives us a courageous yes for a group or for individual coaching, and then a week later is a no. Number one, and Sandy, I don't think you're going to love this response. Sandy Sullivan is a coach in the current school, and she's courageously asking this question here on the show. So I want to say thank you, because, it's like that can feel like an uncomfortable thing when you had a yes and now it's a no. I was someone who was like, I'm going to try to convince that person back into a yes, like they were a yes. It would be so good for them. Oh, how did this happen? So and that wasn't very successful. 99.9% of the time, Sandy, unfortunately, I can say that, because you might already guess this. They felt me attempting to convince them. They felt that, and that doesn't feel good to people. Nobody wants to be convinced of anything. I don't like trying to be convinced of anything, and I'm guessing none of you like it, right? When people do that. I don't want to be convinced to try a food I don't want to try. I'm fairly adventurous, so I like trying foods, but like sometimes not today. And I don't want someone to try to convince me of that. It can feel icky. It can feel like pressure. So Sandy, you really have two options. You can write back to them and say, I totally hear you. Let's get on the phone for a few minutes and just complete. Let's just get on the phone. See, I want to agree with someone when they change their mind. It's like they may have given you a courageous yes, and it may have seemed like a really good idea at the time, but it clearly wasn't a solid yes if they're coming back a week later with a no. It's like they're not there. So I want to agree with them. I want to say, you know what? I think you're right. Given that you're coming back with this, clearly it's not a strong enough yes for you. So we need to either slow down and talk more, or it's done for now, which is totally fine. Like, you may be a hard no at this point. Maybe you gave it more thought, and I respect that. See, we want to agree, because anything else is going to be salesy, icky, trying to convince. And I was like a lawyer when these things showed up. I was like, ugh, I am going to make them see what they said last week about their lives. And this was a good idea. And Steve would just be like, you should have been the lawyer, not Michelle. Wow. You're like, here's the evidence that you said. It's people, like, this is where we get to think about, how would that feel for us? How would that feel for us if someone came back at me and was trying to convince me of my former thoughts? It wouldn't feel good. And somehow there's something that happens, like some lizard part of our brain takes over, where we convince ourselves, yeah, but it really would be good for them. And I'm the one to remind them of that. So let me share about that. This gets a little bigger. See, I don't ever want to assume I know what's best for someone. I don't want to assume that. That's not up to me. It's like, I want to really give people, there's a phrase, and this is a phrase that I learned at the University of Santa Monica. I want to give people the dignity of their process. I want to give them that. So if someone is like, you know what? I know I said I thought it was a good idea, and now there's these 4 things and it's not lining up. My response is, wow, good for you that you slowed it down even more and got clear this was a no. Bravo. I will take your name off the list. I will take your name off the spot. And, I acknowledge you for your clarity. And that's it. And when I have shared this with coaches, it is like it's uncomfortable. Many coaches are like, no, I'm not that, Carolyn, you're just going to let them go even though their life is imploding. And I say, yeah, because if you start to try to mess with that, no, what does it look like you're trying to do? What does it look like? So Sandy, to me, and I think I know the person that you're talking about, the best thing you can do is to really acknowledge and honor their inner guidance, because there are millions of people to be served. The right person for that spot in your group is waiting. It's like they haven't landed yet. It's like sometimes the deck gets shuffled, and we don't like when the deck gets shuffled on us, right? Like, that's our own stuff. It's like, oh, the deck gets shuffled. Somebody says, I don't want to be in your group. And it's like, wait, but you said you did, and it seemed like a good idea. And we get to be like, are we willing to cooperate with their no? And Sandy, one of the things that I would offer to you on that is that it might be an opportunity to look at, did I test the yes enough, right? Mary, I'm glad you like that phrase, honor the dignity of their process. I think it's a great phrase. There are many times in my past where I was not very honoring of someone's process, particularly when they said no to me. And I learned the hard way that, wow, that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to them. It leaves a bad taste in their mouth. And it ultimately didn't feel good to me. But Sandy, I want to say to you, you might not have tested the yes enough. So you had a yes, but I wonder about that, right? And this is for everyone here. When we don't slow down enough and say to someone, well, wait a second, before we finish this, tell me more about what you are wanting from this, whether it's the group or whether it's an individual coaching arrangement. It's like, what do you want to have occur through this? I want them to have spent some time putting words on what they want. right? And I mean, there's a big story. Many of you may have already heard this. Steve Hardison, who's a fantastic coach and a University of Santa Monica graduate, and he has been Steve Chandler's lifelong coach. And so Steve Chandler has amazing stories about Steve Hardison, but often, Steve Hardison has had situations, by the way, they're paying him $150,000, and that may have even gone up for 1 year of coaching. And sometimes he'll be like, when someone gives him the check, he'll be like, hold on, hang on to it for a little while longer. And the person's like, once you hand me that check, you don't get it back. I don't do refunds. So I really want to make sure, is this it? Like, are you really prepared for whatever is going to occur here over the next year? Because it will be beyond anything you could have imagined, but you have to be ready. So I'm okay if you want to hang on to it, right? We have to be willing to test the yes so that, Sandy, that yes gets stronger. With that person that I'm thinking of, who I think it's who you're talking about, you might have been like, you know what, that's great. Here's the thing I want you to do. I want you to sit with this for a week, and I want you to send me an email, one a day, where you say, here's something else I want to have occur through my time in your group. So I want you to spend some time with it, because this is important given everything that's going on for you, right? Now, again, I just made that up. I've never had anybody do that. That's not like a thing. That's not a rule. That's not like, oh my God, Carolyn said on the CFJ Coaching Success School show, make them write to you what they want. It's an idea that came out of my mouth. However, could be a really good idea, but it has to be real. See, that's the thing, right? When we behave like an alien, or we project alien-like behaviors onto other humans, like, what does that mean? Why did they say no? Like, it's like, have you ever changed your mind? I have. I mean, that's my intention is not to change my mind. My intention is to take my time in my decision-making process and really attune, but I've changed my mind. And I've had to do cleanup when I've changed my mind. So we want to really be like, wow, Sandy, think about what it took for her to write to you and say, this isn't it, not right now. I wonder what it was like for her. And I wonder if you thought about that. I'm not saying you didn't, but I wonder, can you imagine, given I know how she has such high regard for you, what it might have taken to turn that yes and say it was really a no? So give that some thought. And if you have something you want to write to me, put it in the comments. Who else has a question, a way that they might be, I don't know, sort of projecting alien-like behaviors onto people, right? It's like, how do I, connect with that person? And a lot of times we forget that being real and being warm is one of the best ways to connect, right? That we can really slow down. Slowing down is one of the best things we can do when we're in conversations with people, when we're in an email exchange. So what questions do we have while we have like 25 more minutes? Hey there, like, what's going on? Somebody's got to want to get a client today. Who's got a situation that they have a question about? Tell me. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about, Steve Chandler talks a lot about people treating people like aliens, coaches. It's like we have this lane we fall into where we're like, they wrote back and they said that they weren't sure. What do I do? Oh, Mark, I love that. Is it possible to be a part-time coach? Does good coaching require all-out commitment? I'm going to answer that one, and then I'll come back to yours, Mary. I was a part-time coach for a while when I was working at the University of Santa Monica. I think I had somewhere between 2 and 4 clients, and I just did a session yesterday with a coach in the school who's putting in about 18 hours a week on her practice. And she has another job, and I think last year she made, I want to say 30K from her coaching, maybe. I could be wrong on that, but around there. And this year, or maybe she made a little more. She might have made 40 something, and this year she's at 26 so far. So absolutely, part-time coaching is the best. You can be a part-time coach for the rest of your life. The question is the part-time coaching enough for you in terms of whether it's income or whether it's just that you want to coach more? But part-time part-time coaching is honorable. Having another job and then doing part-time coaching is an honorable thing. There are people who never want to stop part-time coaching. I have someone, there's a coach in our school who she's really clear. She doesn't have another job. She only wants to be coaching part-time. That's where she's at in her life. She's raised 3 children. She has other stuff she wants to do, but she wants to be a part-time coach and she wants to be pulling in about 50 to 75K a year. What a great thing. So, Mark, I love that question, and yes, I am a big fan. So, part-time coaching, absolutely worthy. All right, Mary. A client was interested in working with me and wanted to think about it and check the money. I haven't heard back from her. How can I respond human to human? Kyle, totally fine to post your question as I spend time on this one. So, Mary, first of all, I mean, it's in a way, and I think you and I talked about this, or it came up on the other show, where we don't want to leave someone in affordability, right? So if someone's like, I want to go think about the money, when I'm going to call with them, I say, that's fine. And I always want to go back to something they talked about, anything. And I remember at the beginning of the call, you said that this thing with your husband, like if your marriage could change, like how important that would be to you. I'm curious, like I just want to hear, like, what is the most meaningful thing that could change about that? Right? I want to bring them back into possibility. So that's number one. And you may remember that from a couple weeks ago. Now, if someone says to me, I want to go, yep, I got it, and I'm going to go think about it. So you have 2 options. You can be like, great, take all the time you need. I'm not over here rushing. So that's great. Tell me, just so I know what you're going to think about. Now, you may be like, why are you asking that, Carolyn? They need to go think about their money. Because sometimes if they're married or in a relationship, it's like, I need to talk to my partner. I need to see if they're in agreement with me doing this, which I always say, well, absolutely. And then I always want to say this. So listen, I think it's really important to talk to your spouse. Is this a conversation that's like, hey, this is something I want to do? I'm not asking permission, but I want to know, or we made agreements that we're going to talk about big expenditures, and I want to just share with you. And if they go, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to say to them, so here's an important thing for you to communicate to your partner. If I do this, I'm going to change. Maybe a lot, and I want to make sure you're okay with that. I'm going to change a lot through this coaching work I do with Mary. And how is that for you? Now, I'm going to say to everyone, anytime I say to a man, hey, you need to ask your wife, is she okay with how much you're going to change from this? They always laugh hysterically. And they're like, oh my God, my wife? My wife's going to be like, get in there, please, faster the better. So that's if they have a spouse. If they don't have a spouse and they're like, I just got to see if this is lined up. Mary, there's 2 things. Number one, they may be being polite, called I'm not going to say no on the phone. Rich Litvin talked about this a lot. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no, right? If it's not a yes, it's a no. I don't think that's entirely accurate sometimes. People sometimes really need to go check, but it is an indicator, right? They're not ready to say yes right now. So what you could do, some people say, that's totally fine. So here's an option. Would it be helpful if we put a time on the calendar where we reconnect and you'll either be like, let's proceed, or you're going to be like, no. And it's fine if you don't want a date on the calendar, because you may not need one. Some people like it because they don't want maybes hanging out there. And I'm fine if you just like, I'll reach out to you when I reach out to you. So that is one option. Or take all the time you need. No urgency on my end. Some coaches say, you know what, that's totally fine. Let's come up with an agreement as to when you're going to let me know either way. And no is just fine if that's your final answer. So you can create a timeline. You can say, take all the time you need. You can slow it down and say, tell me a little bit more about what you're going to think about. And then always leave in possibility. And now, Mary, I'm going to answer this one. You're like, okay, but now what? Because I haven't heard back. And how do I respond human to human? So whenever this happened for me, and I would say to Steve, I hadn't heard from so-and-so. And he's like, okay, So what are you reaching out for? And he has this whole thing that's about like, oh, so you want to touch base to find out if they're going to give you their money. Are you touching base to find out, hey, are you ready to give me your money yet? Did you decide if you're going to throw your money at me? So obviously, just checking in to be like, hey, what'd you decide? Not of service, right? Because that's about who? That's about us. So we don't ever go like, hey, what'd you decide? Now, Mary, what you can do, and this would not be about asking at all about where they're at with the money, is what would serve them right now? What can you send this person that's of value? Is there a TED Talk, a video, an article, and just be like, Mary, I was thinking about you. This came across my desk. And that's it. So I'm going to challenge you with what would serve them right now. What can you send them? And that has nothing about, hey, did you decide yet about whether to write me a fat check? Just serve. Find something based on what they talked about and say, hey, I saw this. I thought this would serve you, Mary. And that's it. So let me know if that's clear. Patricia, I have a physician who refers her patients to me for coaching, and it has been a few months since any referrals. Any thoughts on how to reach out and stay on her radar? Patricia, what a great question. I'm going to give you the same answer as Mary. How can you serve that physician? Like, have you ever gifted that physician a conversation with you? Have you ever said, you know what? You've referred me people, which is amazing. I'm going to gift you a conversation. Like, just because I want to give you time. So that's one idea. Another idea is there something else you can send this person? And just say, look, you have sent me people and you've been on my mind and I wanted to send you something. I'm not saying like flowers or a cake. I mean, like, what about a great book? What about something that would be meaningful, right? But I think if you haven't, Patricia, gifting them a conversation can be an incredible thing, especially for a physician who, may not ever be gifted the time of having someone listen to them deeply. So let me know how any of those ideas fit for you. Asia, I listened to a podcast by Steve Chandler about expectations versus agreements, and that's been something I've really been working on. What's your take on that? And suggestions better to practice. I find myself expecting my clients to respond fast or be as passionate as I am about their journey. However, they aren't at times. So I try my best to take a step back and slow down. And yet I'm eager to see them transform because I'm starting as a personal trainer right now. All right, so those are two slightly different questions. So expectations versus agreements. Asia, good for you. That is such a fantastic audio. And the best way to practice that, it depends on where you want to practice it, right? Like you could practice it in your personal life. Many of us who have friends or are in relationship, we often have expectations about how our husbands or wives should be. Well, they should know I want them to take out the garbage, even though I have never articulated that, right? The kind of mind reading. So a great way to practice can be saying, if you're in a relationship, hey, can we make an agreement about how we're going to handle the dishes? Our agreement could be every other week, one of us is going to handle all dish-related duties, right? Loading the dishwasher, running the dishwasher, putting away the dishes. Would you be open to an agreement, right? The thing about agreements is we have to give people permission to not agree with us, which was something I missed. I would be like, I'd couch an agreement request, but inside was a hidden demand that my husband do what I'm asking. That not okay. So now it's like, hey, would it be okay if we have an agreement about this? And if he's like, no, I don't want that agreement, I have to be okay with it. Practicing in our personal lives, Asia, is incredible because that's when we get on the court, right, with our own stuff. You can have agreements with friends, you can have agreements with people you're in relationship with, and you can have agreements with children, like an agreement that once a week there will be a room cleaning. Now, many people find some kids don't keep their agreements, so then what, right? That's kind of another whole coaching territory. My daughter and I made an agreement last night that she would take out her own candy wrappers out of her room so that I did not have to do that at 9 o'clock at night. Now, you may be out there going, wow, Carolyn, lousy mom, candy wrappers. Her grandmother gave her a really nice bag of little chocolate candies, and she is making her way through them. And she's not eating them 10 at a time, so I'm good with it because we're still doing Zoom school a couple days a week. So the bar is low here, people. My bar, very low right now in terms of stuff like that. But we made an agreement because I don't want to find wrappers. That drives me crazy. So the agreement is she will do that. So that's an agreement. As far as expecting my clients to respond fast or be as passionate as I am about their journey, Asia, I so hear you and I get it. And I want to invite you into something Steve Chandler says. We cannot push people out past their own evolution. We can't. Said another way is like, I can't want transformation for someone more than they want it. That never goes well. I don't want to pull people up a hill. I want, people have their own pace, right? And, I don't want to attempt to get them to move faster than they can. And to me, I get it. It's out of your own enthusiasm. And, it's really important to be like, wow, I can't want this more than you. So tell me where you are. How important is this to you? It's a great question to ask people. How important is this to you on a 1 to 10? Even a current client, you can be like, how important is this to you? You say you're a personal trainer, Asia. I assume that's fitness trainer. In addition to coaching. And my thing is like my fitness trainer knows, like, I just want to stay fit. I'm not trying to lift heavy weight. I'm not trying to do any personal records. I'm open to lifting more weights. I'm open to working harder. But my whole goal is to just stay fit and strong. And as my trainer says, I want to be able to get up off the toilet when I'm 90. That's a thing. So I want functional fitness. I want to stay strong. But I'm not like, some people are like, I want to be able to take on a triathlon. I don't, not right now. But I want to stay strong and I want to stay fit. So just do that for me, trainer. Just tell me what to do. I'm really good at being coached in those contexts. So Asia, tell me if what I shared is helpful. And I'm going to take a couple more questions. All right, Pamela, I'm a part-time coach. I have a full-time communications business. And as it works out, but I have to be realistic about income and building my skills. The only way to become a great coach is to coach, as a wise coach said to me. Right. So part-time coaches need to be coaching, right, as much as you can. And if you can only be coaching 10 hours a week, that's good enough, right? I mean, I was coaching 2 nights a week and maybe on a weekend a little bit. That was plenty for the beginning. And then it grew from there. And then my coaching work drowned out my day job. So it's as a coach, we want to get as much practice as we can, and we want to deal with, as Sandy Sullivan would say, in as is reality. Right? If I have a job that I also have and need, then I only have a certain amount of time. And that's okay. That's as is reality. Kyle, discomfort about things going so well. Last month, I've signed on 5 clients at a program about double the fee that I charged prior to the school. Kyle is a student in the school. So many things have been shifting in what feels like a small time that, I don't know, I'm feeling a bit weird. It's a lot to take in all at once. I can create a financially thriving practice. Oh, so let me share about that. So this is something that does happen. Kyle, what I offer to you is this phrase. Sometimes we hit what are called upper limits. That is a phrase by Gay and Katie Hendricks. It was from the book Conscious Loving. And sometimes when, like, it's like Michelle used to ask people, it's a great question. Are you all ready? How good can you stand it? How good can you stand it? So Kyle, that's the question. How good can you stand it? Upper limits are when all these things that we wanted start to happen. We kind of go, wait, oh, this feels strange. I don't know. Like, let me do something to knock myself back down a little bit. So it's like you're creating a new baseline in your life and in your work. And that can feel a little wonky, right? As you start to get used to it. So the question is how good can you stand it? And can you be gentle with yourself as you start to get used to the newness of having clients and making money? And it's very natural. This happens. It's like cognitive dissonance. Like, wait, I finally have clients. Things are finally starting to happen. Ooh, this feels weird. Maybe not. And we kind of go, don't, wait, no. Keep breathing. Keep talking about it. Keep saying, okay, I can handle this. I can handle the new baseline that I'm growing to in my business. So I hope that's helpful. And of course, you're in the school. We can talk about it more. Claire Marie, exactly. Send them something to serve them without asking about when are you going to give me your money? Because that's about us. Mary, I love your question. What are some examples of agreements to invite, create before beginning coaching? So for me, in my work, I have a standard set of agreements. And those agreements are, and it's a document. It's the one piece of paper that anyone who coaches with me individually will ever see, right? I don't do written contracts where people sign things. I never have. Steve Chandler has never once given me a piece of paper. His word is his agreement, right? And I love that. Michelle and I would joke. We're like, he's not making us sign anything. When we ask people to sign stuff, they get a little like, oh no, something legal. That feels weird. So I'm not a fan of having people sign contracts, and there are many coaches who do it. I have a set of agreements that I send to someone 2 minutes before we start their launch session. And basically it says, here's our program, 6 months or a year. Here's what we agreed to. Here's the fee, and here are the agreements. And Mary, it says like we agree to arrive on time for sessions. You agree to do your sessions from a quiet place with no distractions. You agree that you will not do coaching sessions while you're driving a car, right? I've had people call me, and I'm like, call me when you get to your destination. We're not going to do any coaching while you driving a vehicle. Like, it's just distracting. Not a good idea. So, and then it can include, arriving on time. It includes about rescheduling. It's like, unless you're dying, we don't reschedule. Unless, like, within a week in advance, I don't mind if someone occasionally reschedules, but we're not rescheduling within 24 hours unless there's a kid that, like, something's going on, or an adult in your life and you need to handle, right? That has to be crystal clear. The other thing that needs to be crystal clear in agreements is if you cancel within less than 24 hours, you lose the session. And that's in the agreements. It says, I agree that if I cancel a session in less than 24 hours, I will lose the session. My agreement also says coaching fees are non-refundable. If you decide to end your coaching program early, you will not receive your fees back, any portion of them back. If I fire you and decide I will no longer coach you, you will receive the remainder of the fees back. That's only if I fire someone, though. So the agreements can say anything, Mary. And it's like, I like to review them at the beginning of a launch session when someone has signed on, their money's already been handled. And I'm like, let's go over the agreements that we're going to have with each other during our work together. Another agreement is you agree to bring your agenda to your coaching session, or you're sending it to me the day before, and you are sending your agenda items. You come with your agenda. I don't create the agenda for you. You come with your agenda with what you want coaching on that day. So that can be, is that helpful, Mary? Is that what you were asking for? So let me make sure that's what you wanted. I always struggle, this is Brianna, with a good gem I can share with someone. What can I do to help fill this gap? This is an important job, Brianna. So one thing I want to say to you and everybody here who's watching this live or who's going to watch the recording, coaches need to build up their libraries of things to send people. Videos, articles, movies, but there's so many videos now. There's so many TED Talks. There's Brene Brown stuff. There's 8 million podcasts. So Brianna, you want to start building your library. Now, you could have 5 things and use them over and over again. That's no problem, right? Like, there are things, I send people Steve Chandler audios all the time because they are gold and they are important. Anyone who's a people pleaser, pleasing versus serving. Anyone who's a leader, expectations versus agreements. Anybody who is living their life as a victim, owner, victim. I use it all the time. I don't need to make up something new. Steve Chandler created these audios, and to me, they're the best. But you, Brianna, want to build up your library because that's what people are coming to us for. Michelle would say to coaches, our job is to become trusted sources of transformation. Okay, Michelle Bauman would say, our job is to become trusted sources of transformation. And that includes, like, I have things that might serve you. I have books, I have articles, I have videos, I have quotes. I mean, Steve used to send me the most amazing quotes when something was going on with me. We can all find quotes, and we can all find free TED Talks on YouTube, and we can all find articles all the time. There's some great articles in the Atlantic. Albert, I forget his name. I think Albert Brooks is an actor, but there's a guy who writes about happiness. And I know I've used a lot of those articles. He writes incredible articles in the Atlantic about happiness that I've used to send to people, which are fantastic. So Brianna, there are so many resources, podcasts, you name it. Start building your library. And that is for all of us. So we did it. We did another show. We're at our 45 minutes. So remember when you're like, oh my God, somebody asked me something, or I don't know what to say. They're not an alien. They have a beating heart just like we do. They have challenges and trials and tribulations. Just slow down and be like, what would I want someone to say to me in this situation right now? What would feel good to me? Just ask. Start practicing that. I will be back next week. We only have a couple more shows left, but we're going to make them super rich. So make sure you are here. And of course, if you have questions you want to me to cover, private message me on Facebook and just say, hey, I have a question about this. It would be fantastic. I love getting personal questions. And Heather Daly, I'm still looking for you. So have a great day, everyone. Take good care.